Happy Sabbath. We were talking earlier about being out of your comfort zone. Here I am. I'm a professor at SIU, and I'm used to talking to people, but whenever I get into a pulpit, which Pastor Negria has had me do, he's kind of pushed me along, I get nervous. So I may stop and stumble or mess up my slides. Please bear with me. Just know that I'm a little nervous. Pastor Negria has asked me to come because one of the things I spoke about was the New Start Health series of the Adventist religion, and he reviewed those, and he said, you know, I really like that, because I'm with the School of Medicine, so I have a little background at it. I actually study skeletal muscle health. I'm a biochemist by trade. And he said, would you mind doing a series at other places if I asked you to? And I said, well, sure, I'll be happy to. And so he asked me to do a creation series, and we'll be talking about that. First, I want to talk about 1 Corinthians 6 through 19. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. And what was that price? Right, Jesus at the cross. God gave up his only son, the only person who's ever lived a sinless life. That was the price. Therefore, we belong to God. He paid for us. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. If we keep our bodies healthy, that keeps our minds healthy. That allows us to do God's work. And one of the first things we need to do in order to take care of our bodies is to decide. So we have a choice. We can choose to take care of our bodies and our minds for God or not. How do you do this? Creation life is one of the things the pastor wants me to talk about. Let me get my getting old and blind, and I can't read that from here. If creation is an acronym, rest, activity, interpersonal relationships, outlook, and nutrition. This was put out by Advent Health, and I have doctored up the be more in line with my personality, so to speak. I feel better when I can have a little more input into the slides. All right, you'll notice that as we go through that, we just saw the creation series. It's very similar to the New Start series, the SDA health principles, and I've given you a URL website there that you can look into. Most of you are probably familiar with this, and this is what had Pastor Negria asked me to do this one. If you'll remember years ago that Dan Buettner did a study of areas in the world where there were an inordinate number of people who lived to be in their 90s and their 100s. There were 5 areas, and he actually received money from the National Institutes of Health to follow up on this. You'll look there and see that the only one in the United States, one of 5, is in Loma Linda, California. This was a group of Seventh-day Adventists. The way that the Adventist health principles work with us when we follow them, when we choose to follow them, can give us a long, happy life. And he found 8 principles that, again, are very similar to the New Start, very similar to the creation. And I won't go over those because they are so similar. All right. Whoops. We've lost our... done something here? Choice. All right, we all know that choice is the power to control the direction of your life, and we all have choices to make. In the beginning, Genesis 1:1, God created the heaven and the earth, and he created man and woman. And on the 6th day, and he gave them dominion over the earth, and he gave them free will. He gave us the power to make choices. He created us to commune with him. This made us much more interesting when we can make choices and speak with him and ask questions and learn. We can all do this because we have free will. When he gave us one choice, however, one rule: do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Don't do this. Physically do it, But they had a choice to do it or not do it. What did Eve do with that free will? They were tempted by Satan, a fallen angel, and they chose to disobey. They used their free will to disobey God, and we've all been paying for that ever since, right? But we know the story. They were banished from the garden and told that they would die, indeed, eventually. But God did not. God's curse to the serpent was told in the Proto-Evangelium. In Genesis 3:15, again, I'm getting old and blind. God told Satan, I will put enmity between the woman and between your offspring and her offspring. He, that special offspring, who was it? Jesus shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. And indeed, Jesus was born on the earth, right? He came, he lived, he was tempted by Satan, and Satan did bruise his heel because Satan was able to convince the crowds to follow the Pharisees and the Sadducees and scream, crucify him. Pilate, he washed his hands of it, yet they screamed, crucify him. And they did indeed. They crucified the only human being that ever lived a perfect life. So Satan did indeed bruise Christ's heel, but Christ bruised Satan's head. In fact, he has crushed it because he, the only person who lived the perfect life, served as a sacrifice for all of us who are unable. He chose to die. He could have chosen not to. He could have chosen, but he chose to die for us, and he will crush, has already crushed, Satan's head. All right? So, we're told in John 10:10 that when Jesus came, he told us, I have come that you may live, you may do this, to have the fullest life. God intends for us to live a prosperous, healthy life. And he has graciously outlined how to do so in the Bible. And the Advent Health has put this together for us. What to do is make a choice. Choice is the ability to direct our free will. We have a choice, and we must make that choice. We must exercise wisdom when making choices because they determine the course of our lives. And we have help to make these choices, don't we? We just have to ask Jesus, to ask God, help us make the right choices. All right, Stephen Covey was a writer, a speaker, a businessman from years ago, and he wrote numerous books about how to live an effective life. And he said that anything less than conscious commitment to the important, that is, making a choice for something important, making that effort is an unconscious commitment to the unimportant. Well, a person says, oh, I don't have to follow God. Follow Satan either. If you don't choose to follow God, what have you done? What does Satan want more than anything? He wants worship. He wants us not to follow God. He wants us to follow him. So if we don't choose to follow God, we're automatically choosing to follow Satan. All right, so we've been blessed with the power of choice. And choice is the power to become whom you want to be. Our choices reflect who we are. And choosing, I've got too many slides going here. Choosing to live as God has asked us to do by following the principles outlined in the creation health, which are taken from the Bible, they can add years to your life. Choosing and living the creation lifestyle can add years to your life. And it was actually, and this is where I'll veer from their program a little bit, there was a study done in 1958 at Loma Linda University. There were 22,940 California-based Adventists. They were given a form to survey about their health, and there was an intensive 5-year follow-up and a more informal 25-year follow-up. At the same time during this, there was a study being done, a very similar study being done of Californians who were non-Adventists. And these researchers then compared all the data from the Adventists with the data from the Cancer Society. And what they found was that Adventist men had a 34% lower death rate, and Adventist women had a 12% lower death rate. There was a follow-up study that compared California Adventists to other Californians who were non-Adventists, and they found that the Adventists had greater longevity. On average, Adventist men lived 7.3 years longer, and women lived 4.4 years longer than their California non-Adventist counterparts. All right. So choice is the first step toward improved living. And this can be done by making a smile. Just actually smiling, not just the cheese smile, but a whole face. Smile with your eyes, smile. This actually sets off physiological mechanisms, brain stimulus, that can make you feel better. Believe it or not, just smiling in a bad situation, looking for the bright side. And sometimes, folks, I know, I'm 61 years old and I've been through some things. I know sometimes it's hard to smile. But you just say, God, help me through this. Help me see the good in this. Help me find it, please. And you know that God is there putting you through this to teach you something, and you smile, all right? And this can set off some physiological mechanisms to make you feel better. So it can make you happy. And having control and the ability to choose can actually help you live a longer and happier life. There was a study done in the 70s by a group from Yale University. There was a study of people in nursing homes. They looked at 91 residents and they split them into 2 different groups, the experimental groups. Folks were told, they were said, well, you've got some choices, right? We're going to let you choose your food, and you are responsible for yourself. You can choose your own exercise. Another group were told, we're going to give you a wonderful, healthy diet. We're going to take care of you. We're going to give you the exercise. We're taking care of you. They weren't given choice. They were told what to do. These folks were also given a plant. This group was told, this is a plant. You are responsible for taking care of it. We'll give you advice and help if you need it, but it's your plant. This group was told, this is your plant to keep in your room, and we're going to help take care of it. We're going to take care of it for you. So they set up this experiment. And what they found is that the group who had the choices, who were given the plant to take care of, when they did different studies of them, they gave them questionnaires, and they looked at behavior of the people. They looked at the people who were taking care of them and got input from them. How was these people? How did they act? What they found was that the group who had the choice displayed greater alertness, participation in activities, and improved general sense of well-being. Kind of proves that God set us up to have choice, doesn't it? He gave us free will. Look at the scientists proving what God has already told us. I say that a lot when we find things in the lab. It's, God already told us that. Why did we have to, go looking for this? All the diet they do now, all the work. The act of choosing empowers vitality, all right? The ability to have the blessings of choice increases individuals' sense of personal control and feelings of intrinsic motivation. In turn, that is associated with numerous physical and psychological benefits. So you ask yourself at this point, how satisfied are you with your life? Are you dissatisfied with any areas? Have you made some choices you would have preferred not to make, choices that you need to reverse and turn around? I've known people who chose to smoke. That's one of the worst things you can do for your body. But they've chosen to quit. It's not an easy thing, but they've done it. My dad quit cold turkey. He put him down and never picked him back up. Of course, this was after quadruple bypass that was partially brought on by smoking. So don't wait till something really spurs you into doing it. Make these choices now. All right, so which direction you choose, where's your choices taking you? Ask yourselves. Take a moment to consider. Which direction are your choices taking you? Are you making good choices? Or do you need to change and make some new choices? All right, the good things in life. All right, you choose to balance the good and leave out the bad things in life, right? Choose to have a good attitude. I'm going to look at the positive side of this. God, please help me look at the positive side of this. I know you can help me do this, and then I'll smile and I'll feel better. Or you could say, I'm in a rut and I can't get out of this. God, you put me here and I'm really tired of it. Look at Job. Look at all happened to him. He didn't curse God, although they were telling him, curse God and die. He may have had a hard time looking for the positive side of it, but he never gave up on God. All right, a wise man is strong, and a man of knowledge makes strength greater. So what that's telling you is when you take care of your body, you take care of your mind. You take care of your mind, you take care of your body. You take care of both, you're able to do God's bidding. All right, so ways to increase your knowledge. They can tell you here with the Advent Health, they say read books, read about health, read godly books, read Ellen G. White books. She's written a lot on health. Listen to audio books. You can get Ellen White's books. You can get Dan Buettner's books, all on audio. Watch informative programs on television, good, healthy programming. Use the internet wisely. It has some wonderful information. And what I recommend, if you're going to use the internet, use sources that are connected with medical schools of universities. Medical schools of university. I love Harvard. They have their School of Medicine has, and Yale both. Johns Hopkins, they have wonderful sites where people can go and look for information about health. Exercise your intellectual muscles, that is, learn, teach yourself more. You can learn to reason through things, right? You know what reasoning is? It's when you look at your choices and you think them through. Where is this going to take me? Where is this one going to take me? Logic, I can use this. God, help me to use my logic. Give me the reasoning skills I need to reason through this. And you can prove your reasoning abilities. And again, I'm going blind, so I can't read that. You can take a class on logic, philosophy, debate, or classic reasoning. That's what they recommend. A number of things. If you're interested in doing that kind of thing, there are remote classes available even from SIU. You can meet regularly with a group of friends and engage in stimulating and constructive debate, discussions, or conversations. Bible studies, where you study the Bible passages together and you discuss it, just like you did a wonderful job, I thought, this morning with Sabbath school. It was just fantastic, and everybody was participating. I wish the Marian Adult Sabbath School could have seen that. They don't discuss enough. I'm usually in the sound room, but I'm watching, and you folks just did was marvelous, marvelous Sabbath school. All right, you can also, oops, I'm going too far with the wrong one. Let's see. I got too many things. Oops. I'm going to talk about ways of improving reasoning again. Yeah, okay, so I guess that was the last on that slide. Sorry. All right, reasoning involves, according to Advent Health, I can't read that. Take what we know about a situation and apply the principles we live by, such as the rules we must keep, the laws we are bound by, good old common sense to help us make the best choice. And whom do we ask for help in making these choices? God. All right, so we can use what we know about a situation, apply what we know, and ask for God's help, using our reasoning skills to make better choices. All right, so there was a gentleman, a professor at Penn State, Martin Seligman, who did a study with animals. He did a study with dogs, and he devised a box with a floor and it was wired with mild electrical shocks. Now, it was uncomfortable. The dogs didn't like it. They weren't hurting these animals, let me explain. But they put the dogs in a box. They had 3 groups. Dogs in group 1 were placed in the box for a period of time and were not exposed to electrical shocks, none at all. The dogs in group 2 were placed in the same box for the same period of time, but were administered these electrical shocks that they could avoid by pressing a panel with their noses. Just like, and they could stop the shocks. The poor dogs in group 3 were placed in the same box for the same period of time and also were administered electrical shocks. And these were intermittent, means off and on, off and on. But they were given no way to avoid them. So we got 3 groups of animals that have been treated a certain way. No shocks, shocks they can avoid, and animals that could not avoid the shocks. So after these animals had been conditioned in this manner, what they did was set up a second box. This was a box where there was a way to get away from the side that was electrified. So it's electrified on one side, not electrified on the other. And what they found when they applied these shocks is that the dogs from group 1 and group 2 were quick to figure out that they only needed to jump to get away from the shocks. But most of the dogs from group 3 didn't even attempt to avoid them. They had already been conditioned to think, I can't get away from them. And so they didn't even try. Learned helplessness is what this is called, is what Seligman called it. So the dogs repeatedly exposed to the uncontrollable shock gave up trying to escape. This behavior persisted even when the dogs were moved to an escapable box. They learned that the external environment, not their own decisions, determined their fate. This can also happen with people. We can learn to be helpless when we perceive ourselves to be in a situation in which we have no control. If, for example, there's a stimulus plus a response, we learn that there's never going to be a change, then we begin to think this stimulus and this response are always going to occur together. You can think about the little child who was taking an algebra class and just couldn't get it. They didn't understand it. Well, they were put in another class with a new teacher. They didn't even try because they had thought, algebra is something I can't learn. Never occurred to them that maybe a new teacher, a new situation would help me learn better. So we stopped trying, and this is called learned helplessness. All right, the frontal lobe is where our power of choice resides. And the purpose of the frontal lobe then is to give us will or choice. Helps us make good judgments. It's where we house our reasoning skills, where we house the social norms that we learn. That's where we do our long-term planning. I got too many computers, sorry. All right, all of which makes us healthy, life-giving choices. So good choices to enhance the frontal lobe activity. This is the Advent Health and how they tell you can kind of take care specifically the frontal lobe. Think positive. Physical activity, again, you can get the circulation going all through the body. That increases the circulation to the brain, to the muscles, which actually all helps the brain. Mental activity. The more you use the brain, the better you get at using it. Crossword puzzles. My dad loves to do crossword puzzles. Some people do the Sudoku or Sudoku. I can't even remember. I don't do them. But you can do different activities, reading books, right? Keeping up with what's going on with the news, staying current. All of this mental activity can keep your brain working well. Believe it or not, massage can actually get the blood flowing through your body and actually get more blood flowing to your brain. Sunshine actually sharpens the mind and reduces the stress hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is something that you don't want high levels of because this is what produces the physiological events that go along with stress. And a stressful mind doesn't think as well as it should. So keeping your stress down. And one of the ways to do that is to be in the sunshine and to eat good carbohydrates. That means not sugar, but good carbohydrates like whole wheat bread, brown rice, listening to music, certain music in the brain they have shown, music that can calm you down and help you to feel more rest. And in the Bible it tells us that if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives all without, and it will be given to you. So again, we can make these choices and ask God not only to help us make these choices, but to help us follow up with these choices. All right? So common effects of the compromised frontal lobe. Impairment of moral principle. Social impairment, that is, you may lose care for family, example. Other care for people around you. You no longer understand social cues as well as you used to, and you seem to respond to people inappropriately. Lack of foresight. You're making bad judgments because you're not able to see ahead. What are the consequences of these actions? You can become incapable, or at least less capable, of abstract reasoning. That is, to think about things that are not concrete, to put concepts together. It can cause depression when the frontal lobe starts to not work as well as it should. All right, common effects of a compromised lobe include loss of empathy. So the loss of being able to understand that someone else may be hurting. It gets your capability to sympathize, empathize with other people. It decreases. Lack of restraint. That means you may become more boasting, more hostile, more aggressive. Diminished ability for mathematical understanding. Increased chance of adopting risky behaviors. Again, you're unable to interpret consequences. All right, Creation Life Advent Health also gives us some tips for making choices. Stay focused on what the real choice is. Don't be distracted. And things can distract you easily. Not getting enough sleep. One of the creation tips is you get rest. So you can be distracted by other things going on around you. Stay focused on the choice you've made, that God has helped you make, and how to achieve that choice. There's an acronym they give us, HALT. Stop something, H-A-L-T. Do not make big decisions when you are hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, H-A-L-T. I do not go to the grocery store when I am hungry. I tend to come back with an overloaded cart and wonder, why did I get that? And I end up, my students love it when I go to the grocery shopping hungry, because then I've got stuff that I don't need and I just take it to work and give it much food when you will deal with students. Those of you who have dealt with students know this. All right, so choosing wisely isn't always easy. So choose to make one choice at a time. That is baby steps. Get help if you need it also. There we go. And you want to reflect on the changes you want to make. So you want to start by spending time thoughtfully reflecting on your life. Where do I have issues that need to change so that I can make myself mentally and physically more healthy so I can do God's bidding, so I can do what God wants me to do? Think about the life you want, the life that God wants for you, and then take steps, even if it's baby steps, to live it. All right, we're told in Isaiah, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. There we are, right there. We are told that we can ask God for help. All right, steps to change. Advent Life has made some recommendations to help us make changes. Number one, we need to ask God. Number one, we got to choose to make changes, right? This is about choice. Choose what changes need to be made, and then choose how to go about it. All right? Choose to change. Pray for wisdom. Take inventory of the changes you want to make. After you've done those three things, what they recommend is that you prioritize the changes that need to be made first. And you follow through with those changes. Follow through and then reinforce those changes. They recommend that you set goals. Be specific when you set these goals. And there's another acronym they're giving you. Acronyms meaning something that supposedly will help you remember. All right, so be specific. This is going to be an acronym, SMART. Be specific. Make measurable changes, that is, changes that you can make, you can take inventory of and know I'm making progress. I want to lose weight. Well, that's a pretty simple one. You measure the pounds, right? And it's attainable, right? It's something that's realistic you can do. You don't say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds this week. What they recommend is really about a pound or two a week to do it safely. They also want you to be realistic and reward yourself. Maybe at the end of the month, you've lost 5 pounds. I'm going to eat some ice cream. That's not a terrible thing, is it? A little bit of ice cream every now and then never hurt anybody. Ice cream 2 or 3 times a day, every day, well, ice cream sticks to my hips, and I don't like that when that happens. I very rarely eat ice cream. I reward myself occasionally. Time specific. Set the goals. And I'm going to lose a pound. And I'm going to do it this week. I'm going to lose 1.5 pounds next week because I figured out how to lose 1 pound this week. Or I'm going to exercise. I'm going to walk a half a mile today in the evening after it gets cool in the shade, not where it's hot. You can get too overheated, right? Next week, I'm going to walk a little more. I'm going to walk 3/4 of a mile. So it's attainable, realistic, and you can measure it and be time specific. All right? We all veer off course sometimes, right? Because of life's unexpected events. I'm on a diet. I've lost 5 pounds. Oh my goodness, I'm going to lose 1 pound, 1.5 pounds a week. Next week is Thanksgiving. Maybe it's time to reward myself because I'm going to veer off this track, right? Sometimes they're more serious veers off of the life's track, unexpected events. Someone hurts your feelings in a bad way, or someone passes away. This can be things that interfere with the plans you've made. But when they happen, make course corrections to get back on track when you can, and choose to keep going. Ask for God's help to keep you going. And what they tell you is that you are one choice away from living a better life. Number one, choosing to do it and asking God, help me to determine how, help me to make a plan, a attainable, reasonable plan, Lord, to change this or change that, and help me, stay with me. If I get off, Lord, and it may happen, help me again to get back on track. It's okay. You know, every day's a new day. You don't lose 1 pound that week, maybe you gain 1 pound that week. I've done that one, more than 1 pound a week. You know, and I used to be rather heavy. I decided I was overweight and unhealthy. I started working out and changed my diet. I got where I want to be, and I, for the most part, stayed there. When I get a little out again, I say, okay, I've veered off that course. Let's get back on it, right? Too many ice creams that week. All right, most of all, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to Him, and He will make your path straight. That's the verse, the scripture reading today. Thank you so much for having me here and allowing me. It's been wonderful to get to meet you. And I guess I'm going to turn it back over to Lester.